Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Prog podcast interview. This is Roy. My guest on this episode is Gary Kelly, frontman and the guy behind the band Molybaron. They have a new album coming out on September 15th called Something Ominous. There's a few singles out right now. We talk about the new album, how he got the band together, his difficult recording process, and a whole lot more. Before we get started, just a reminder to subscribe to our YouTube channel, wherever you get your podcasts, progreport.com, and follow us on all our socials. And on my interview with Gary Kelly. Good to meet you finally.
You too. It's been a while.
Yeah. So have you been, where are you? Are you in France? Is that correct?
I'm in Paris at the moment. Yeah.
Nice.
I live in Paris. Yeah, I was dragged over here by a lady 14 years ago. So
Yeah, that'll happen.
kicking and screaming.
That's cool, man. Well, good. I'm glad we got a chance to talk and do this a little bit. But I have to tell you, man, I've had a chance to sit with this album a little bit, and I definitely liked your last album, but this one just took it for me to a whole nother level, and I just have been obsessed with this album for a while.
That's
And
amazing.
especially man, Reality Show is just like the best song. It's so
Whoa.
good. So good.
It's funny because honestly, I I was just saying to somebody today, some reviews have started to come in, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's fabulous. It's this. It's better than the Mutiny." And honestly, before I heard anything back, I had no idea.
Right.
I was so I don't know, I suppose under stress or just anxious about this album. I felt like everything I was doing was just rubbish. just um I suppose maybe I was just mentally exhausted. So it's very, very hard to now I have time to step outside the box and maybe
Mhm.
look in, but I haven't listened to it in like 4 months.
Yeah. I know I
So
hear that from a lot of musicians. What not listening to your own music, right? Because you spend so much time with it. You just don't
don't
hear it
endure it.
normal. You don't hear it as songs, right? You just hear it as bits and pieces of things that you hate
Yeah.
or that you want to
It's
change or that like,
bit of the Lego that you placed on the timeline and the little blocks that you're putting together and the chorus. I remember I didn't sit there with a guitar like Bob Dylan and add to the chorus or cut the chorus like manually while I'm playing. No, I cut the chorus by looking at it on a timeline and going, okay, here's the fourth bar, chop, flip
right?
that, put it here, play it back. Does that sound more? No. Let's put a roof on this Lego house. It's just music is obviously the creation of music has completely changed these days.
Right.
But no, honestly, I people have told me like in my inner circle have told me, oh, it's really good, but I don't believe anybody. I especially don't believe anyone in my inner circle to
Yeah.
tell me that. So it's just when people on the outside who I own nothing to uh tell me it's good, then I kind of maybe start believing it's good.
Right.
So, Roy, thanks very much.
Oh, my pleasure, man. I've been singing the praises of it for a while, and I've been waiting for Reality Show to be a single because I knew it was coming eventually, and I
You
was
know
just
what?
like,
That song, I think it was the last song. I completely hated it. Uh, Absolutely detested the song. Had a completely different chorus at the beginning, and I sent it to the guys in the band, and they were like, "Yeah, it's all right. It has we don't like the chorus." So I brought it back and start to change the chorus again, and I eventually got to the point where I said, "Right, fuck it, this chorus is fine. It'll do." And it's funny, Teresa in Century Media and Inside Out said, I love this song, Reality Show. And Thomas, also in the label, said, I love this song too. And
Yeah.
I'm still sitting there going, I don't know why.
Not weird, you know?
It's just,
It's funny. I
man,
mean,
it's totally weird.
I'll
It's totally
interject
weird.
here as a separate point, but I had the same thing because they sent me the record, months ago to listen to, and right off the bat, Something Ominous was just like, I'm like, this song's amazing. That's badass and it's great. But then right away, I wrote them right back too, and I said, Reality Show, that's the song. I mean, we've got to do something with that song, you
It's
know?
mad, eh?
Yeah, not
It's
wild.
fucking
It's
mad.
funny.
Yeah, it really is. Because honestly, my perception of it is the complete opposite to what everybody else is saying. And yeah, maybe I just have to just I don't know. I just have to take distance. I think that's
Well,
probably what.
I mean, there's so many famous stories like that, right? I mean, not to compare it to this song or that song, but what like Bon Jovi didn't like "Living on a
Living on a
Prayer,"
prayer. Yeah.
right? That's a famous one, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
You hate singing it as well. I can
Yeah.
understand. It's funny when you go to rehearsals. Rehearsals is such a drag. You go in and you're like, oh man, I have to play this damn song again. Oh, I have to play a song I've played hundreds of times.
Right.
And if there's no audience there and you're just doing it to practice, holy moly. But when you get in front of an audience, that completely changes, Their energy actually makes you appreciate what you're playing.
So you guys have done a few shows this summer, some festivals and
Yeah,
different things.
a few. It's been quiet enough. Well, we've done some big shows actually, but I was finishing off the album up until around April, May, and I had no time to go off and travel to shows and to rehearse or do anything like that because my time was ticking because we knew we had a 6 month advance for yourself now to get vinyls printed. You need a huge advance time. Everything has to be
Sure.
ready way before it gets released. And so yeah, some gigs we just couldn't do. But we did Grass Pop. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Grass Pop in Belgium. It's
Yeah, I saw
super,
some of the
super
images. Yeah.
festival. Yeah, oh, it's wonderful. There was about 5 or 6 thousand, I'd say, in the audience, and I think we were first or second of the day, but we were I think we were the second band of the whole fest, so everybody was full of energy.
Mhm.
But we did play as a well, not last band, but we in Hellfest the year before we played at something like 10:30 in the morning on main stage, and everybody that came to see us had been there for 2 weeks straight in one of the hottest summers in French history, in recorded history. They were all melting, and I could just see them in front of us. They were just dead.
They just
And
were, yeah,
when
they
I
weren't
asked
having
for
it.
a wall, a wall of death, people were like, "Oh fuck, really?" At 10:30, but I think they felt embarrassed not to, so they all split and did it. But yeah, sorry. To this year, yeah, we did Grass Pop. We did a good fest in the Netherlands actually with Architects, which was awesome. Um, called Headbangers Parade, and then we did another one in Malmo in Sweden, called Rock. I think it was Rockfest Sweden, Malmo Rocks or something like that, with Royal Republic. I think that's about it. Actually, that's about it. That
Did you
for,
get a
for
chance to play any of the new songs at
yeah, we
those?
played Vampires. We played Vampires because we released that. We actually released that last year.
Yeah.
We didn't know if it was going to end up on the album, but by the time I reached song 9 on the album, I was bunched. I said, right, Vampires is going on the album. That's number 10. So yeah. So
So you haven't played like something ominous or breakdown or
we
anything yet?
haven't played any of these live, but
Okay,
we're going to
cool.
play them. We're going to be playing them in a few weeks now when we go on tour with Soen.
Yeah,
So
so I wanted to talk about that tour. That's really exciting. Someone just
yeah, it's great.
released their new record as well.
Yeah, that was
Uh,
the first. I think it was the first of
yeah,
September.
just this
Pretty good,
past
eh?
Friday. Yeah,
Have you
and
listened to it
your album Something Ominous comes out in 2 weeks on the 15th.
on the 15th? Yeah,
Yeah, that's a great bill. I mean, you guys match up really nice. Very good energy between both bands. I think that's
yeah,
going to
yeah.
be awesome.
It's a good match, all right. Actually, there's a strange history behind that because we were to go on tour with Soen in 2021. It was just sort of coming out of COVID, and because COVID was happening, we weren't playing at all. We were just nobody was playing. So it kind of we were given the opportunity to tour with them, and we had like 2 weeks to prepare for a tour, and we just weren't ready. Because we hadn't played in so long. I think two of us were still on holidays. It was a total mess. So in fact, we had to turn it down, and we really regretted having to do it, but we had to in the end.
Right.
So this time around, yeah, it just came up again, and we put our name in the hat, and Yeah, so they said, yeah, sure, come along on this tour, and it really is a great match. And I haven't really, to be honest, I'm not one to listen to music very often anyway, so I didn't really know much of Soen, but I did get sneaks. I did get to hear their full last album before it was released because I
Yeah.
knew someone who was reviewing it, and it was super. It was a lot heavier than the last albums too.
Yeah. But they
So I'm
also
looking forward
write,
to that.
they can write a good hook like you guys, which is cool. I
They
like that
do,
part.
they
Yeah.
do, yeah. The old hook is really important.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah. What about your background actually? I'm curious. I don't know too much about it. Like, how'd you get started in everything?
Well, actually, it's odd enough. I actually started playing at about 14, and I stopped playing at 17. And then I literally didn't play guitar until I was 39 again.
Wow.
I didn't pick it up again. I was doing sometimes I was doing kind of orchestral music, synthesizer samples and stuff like that, but it was pretty rare. So I've been a graphic designer forever, and I decided that there was no chance I was ever going to do anything in music. You know, you just resign yourself to that. And so I kind of worked in the music industry in design, doing albums for various bands. And
You did something for a Genesis album, right? I believe that's what
yeah,
someone
well,
told me.
not a Genesis. I did some Genesis tour books.
Genesis tour books. That's what
I
it
worked
was.
for, I've done a lot of work for U2 as well. I work for another big band called The Script. I don't know if you know what,
Sure.
you may not know them, but you know their songs.
I know that. Yeah, I know them for sure. I know the
Oh
songs.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've actually designed all of their albums, and yeah, Leonard Cohen. I've done lots of
That's
so I kind
awesome.
of
Very
yeah, I was
cool.
in that that was the one that kind of made me feel as if I was in the music industry a little, you
Right.
know. So the idea of ever playing in a band, like I mean, when I was a kid, I played maybe 5 or 6 gigs, one in school, one on in a bar. Um, nothing, nothing, like literally nothing. Oh, I played one blues gig with my dad, who's a drummer, and we were absolutely awful. That's it. That's it. But when I came to France, which is about 14 years ago, I had no friends here. I didn't know anybody. So my girlfriend bought me a cat. So that was literally my buddy.
That's
I said,
great.
this is fucking sad. I think I need to go out and get some mates. So I did. I answered an ad in just a music magazine over here. Well, a music blog over here, and it was for a death metal band. So I joined this death metal band, Human Fate, just as lead guitarist. And yeah, I just said, I remember just rehearsing and the camaraderie, just having friends with these guys all playing, and I love just going out every weekend and rehearsing. That was when rehearsing was good fun, you know.
Yeah.
And then we played 1 or 2 gigs in some real dive bars, you know, and I was hooked again. I was kind of back to when I was 16, 17. I was like, holy shit, all these years, like 20 years, 22 years. And so during that, while I was in that band, I realized I didn't want to play other people's music either. So I started to, probably around 2014, 2015, I started writing the first album. And yeah, I just more or less finished, more or less finished the first album before getting the band together and
Okay.
pulling Molybaron together in various forms, different members. Um, and yeah, it really started then. And then everybody thought I was way too serious when I was starting. I said, "Look, we're gonna fucking work. This is a really serious band. No girlfriends at the weekend. All of this." I was like a sort of a little dictator, and because I kept thinking, I'm running out of time here. Because I'm 39. If I'm gonna make it in show business, I gotta do it quick, you know. So anyway, yeah, so it just started there, and that was it. We just started getting just tiny little shitty gigs and playing on in bars where you would be on a stage and the toilet was actually on the stage and the back of a
That's all.
tractor
Those are
was.
the best stories. Yeah.
So when you look at them now and there's pictures of it and like there was there's right behind the drummer, there's a toilet. And during the songs, like there were people coming out and walking past me as I was singing after just being in the jacks. And oh yeah, it was awful. And then on the back of a tractor, and man, there was some
I'm telling you, there's a book there between different bands and starting out in your first gigs. I always felt like when I was in my band years ago in college, just
what did you play?
fucking around, guitar a little bit. I don't really anymore too much, but um, I always felt like the gigs we were playing, you could write a book on this stuff. It was
Yeah,
just so absurd and ridiculous, like
just
just
awful.
awful,
But but
awful.
but but the memories of it last like
But they're
forever.
fun. Yeah, at the end they're fun. Like who would have believed this? It's crazy.
At the time, you're thinking, this is hell on earth. I remember going to one gig. I was actually on the back of a tractor, sort of a, and we were playing. Somebody did us a favor by allowing us open. It was something like the Biker Fest somewhere in France, and it was a cold, I think it was October morning, and we got on at 12 o'clock, and there was literally there was a space of about maybe 30 meters in front of us, and then there was this tent where everybody was just eating lunch, and they were just eating lunch, and we were just like an annoyance to them on stage, and we were playing, and there was one old man who looked like um what's his name, George Martin, Game of Thrones. He was just sitting there with a stick. There's one dude, he had a little bench, and he was watching us, and he was cheering, and he was literally the only one in the audience, and everybody else was just looking at us, and we were disturbing them. It was just,
Funny.
honestly, it would break your heart. At the time, I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, why am I doing this? Right?
Why
Yeah,
am
I
I
know.
doing this? This is just, but you persist, and you keep going, and you keep going, and so many doors close in your face, even for the tiniest, most miserable gigs. They like the owner of this shitty little venue has all this power over you, and he's like, no, not today.
Yeah,
And it's hell. But it's, I think, of course, it's not going to happen all the time. If you keep doing it, it's going to work. Of course, that's not true. But yeah, I think if you have, there's always that belief there that something could happen, and I think if you don't do it, you'll be more depressed if you stop than you would be doing these shitty gigs.
sure.
You know,
Yeah, there's
so
that too.
yeah, I think it's a
So,
catch.
so I mean, I guess you're experiencing now where people are coming up to you like maybe like I just did earlier and saying, I really love this. This is
That's
amazing."
great.
And then
That's
you're
great.
just like, you know,
The people are listening to us in the States.
right.
You know,
It's cool.
like that's the crazy thing. Like we get messages from people all over the place, all over the world, and like some people have sent us money so we can pay for, like, just before we were signed. One guy sent us $1,000. You know,
Wow.
yeah,
That's wild.
it's
That's amazing.
wild, yeah, and that really helped, because you've no money at all. It's like you'll know yourself. It's like uh, if you're doing an album, I mean, it's a full-time job, and you have to essentially stop working. Like for the last album, I took a year and a half off work, like literally no money coming in. So just to work on the album. Because if I had to do jobs, you get taken away from the album, and it's such a distraction. It's actually impossible. So, well, it is for me anyway.
Yeah.
But I did that for the Mutiny as well. I took maybe a year and a half off work. I was actually fired from my own company because I had a company in Dublin, a design company in Dublin with two other partners, and they realized I wasn't bringing in any cash because I wasn't
Boy.
doing enough work. So we parted ways, and I just continued on just doing music, kind of living off your savings, and it's a crazy midlife crisis, I'll be honest. But
Well, it's
okay,
paying off.
but
I think it's paying
you're
off.
not going to do it. I mean, honestly, you would regret it if you didn't do it. And honestly, I don't care about money so much anyway. So as long as I can pay my rent, I'm okay, and I
Right
can buy
on. Yeah.
cars, obviously.
Well,
You know,
so I mean, I was going to ask you about this, and maybe you're explaining it sort of. You seem like a perfectionist and somebody that goes 150% into it, but just the sound quality on the record's amazing as well. I mean, how much time do you spend on pre-production and guitar sounds and the mixing process and all of that to get it to where it sounds? Because I think stuff like this not only has to have good hooks and all that, but the mix, the production, everything, it's got to be punchy. It's got to be powerful. You've got to feel the energy from it. And I think that comes across, right? So talk about that whole process, what that's like for you.
Yeah, that's I'm a head case when it comes to like production. I'm yeah. I am a perfectionist, and it's to my detriment. Sometimes it like just I can spend a day just twiddling a knob just to try and get a little bit more distortion and more chug on the guitar or something. And sometimes I'm doing it and it's a complete waste of time, because when it goes into the mix, it just gets completely devoured in the mix. You don't hear it.
Right.
But yeah, for guitars, I I recorded for this album. I recorded all the guitars. Well, actually, I recorded them on all the albums actually, and I record multiple tracks, so each one has to be completely accurate to the next. You have to line up on the beat, and it's maddening, to be honest. It's maddening, but I can't help myself.
Right.
So yeah, I get to a point where everything is just absolutely perfect, but sometimes with that perfection, it can sound robotic. So you have to leave a little flow as well, and yeah, a little flow and a little more flow in the drums. So like when Cammy's playing the drums, for instance, what I do is I'll record all the drums in MIDI. I don't record them. I literally
Right.
paste MIDI, and then Cammy essentially takes all the stuff I've done verbatim, and he re-records it real drums, but he adds a little bit more flow that and humanizes obviously a bit more than I can actually do in MIDI. So actually the question is, what's the process? Yeah, so I spend a lot of time on synths, finding the correct synthesizers, finding the right sounds. And I'm not a great synth producer. I don't have great knowledge of it. I know that this button gives it that kind of sound sometimes, but getting into oscillators, I'm pretty sketchy. And so I kind of there's a lot of fiddling around until I
Right.
find a sound, and then I'll save it and I'll come back to that, and I'll remember that sound I had from before and pop it in there. So backing vocals, I do all the backing vocals as well. So there's loads of different harmonies and layers.
So
Uh,
the part screaming out reality show in the chorus, that's you
yeah,
back and forth.
that's me. Yeah, that's me. That's me in different octaves.
Yeah, sounds
So
different. Yeah.
I'm doing a low octave, which is just a shout. Then I'm doing a mid, and then I'm doing a high. So then when you get to the when you get to the production end, when you're trying to line it up, you're just looking at 16, 17, 18 vocals, maybe like 8 low, 8 high, sorry, then 4 in the mid. Yeah, it's insane. It just drives you mad. There's no fun. Let me just tell you, there's no fun in it, in producing. It's absolutely fucking hideous work. But you're just aiming to get to the last. You're just aiming to get to the end, and then you can appreciate how it sounds, But during the process, my God,
It's tough.
a lot
Yeah.
of it's tough because I don't have a producer. I'm not in a room with a mixer. I'm not in a room with an engineer. So I'm not in one room doing vocals and another guy in the other room. So I'm doing the vocals, and it's up to me to judge if the vocals are good. So what I did it was something that worked out really handy in the end. My vocal booth is actually in a close in a closet where you just hang. So my girlfriend's dresses used to all be there, and
Yeah.
it's just,
I've heard people do that. Yeah, just
oh
to
man, I
make it's
do it, and
completely dead in there.
it's completely dead. It's the
Yeah.
best place I could have found. It's about it's about this much wider than me, and it's probably about 5 foot in length, and it's just about this much higher than I am. I'm not that tall, so it's handy. Sometimes it's an advantage to be a midget. But like, so when I'm singing, I always sing up, like
Right.
because something when I bring my voice, when I bring my chin down, I have a weird Eddie Vedder sign of roar. So I have to lose that by putting it up and letting the air go out. So I keep banging my head as I'm singing, constantly banging my head off the ceiling and having to re-record it because you'll hear reality show
Oh
in
my
the
God, that's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Oh, but I what I do is I take off my shoes, so a bit of height,
Just a tiny
I
bit
tiny
smaller.
bit,
Yeah.
and then my legs aren't straight; they're like this, so I can. Oh man, there's a
It's a
lot.
whole thing. It's yeah.
There's a process. There's a process. But what I did was I brought in I got a small 16-inch screen. I brought in a wireless keyboard, a wireless mouse, and I put a shelf in front of my mic. So then I was singing and I was doing the engineer's job as well. So I was actually deleting. I'd sing 5 times, I'd listen on the phones, I'd listen back, I'd delete 3 of them, I keep 2, move on to the next part. So I was kind of doing a 2-man job. I was doing a 2-man job with one dude in there, and it was much easier to do it. And the reason I don't work with an engineer is because he'll choose something that I don't like, and I know it. What I like, he won't like. So
Right.
so there's no point in having arguments. I'll just it'll be up to me. I choose it, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's my fault. Uh, and it's easier because I'm a control freak, so I don't have to have those arguments. So yeah, that's what I did. And then with guitar, I'd sit in front of the computer. Actually, I can play, and again, I overdub many times. But near the closer to the end of the album process, we got Flo, who's the new guitar player, who's
Mm.
a wonderful guitar player. He's a young chap. He's like 28, and uh, he's a fabulous guitar player. He's actually a guitar teacher. He's technically brilliant, and I'm kind of embarrassed playing in front of him. But so now I don't. I'm happy that I don't have to play lead anymore on stage. He's going to take over all my lead. So for the album, I recorded I think maybe 6 of the leads are mine. Maybe 3 are his. I can't remember which ones,
Mm-hmm.
but well, Something Ominous is mine. But he'll play it live. But as I say, he came in at the end of the process, so there was only 2 or 3 songs left for him to play on.
Right.
So he put his tracks down, and you
Well,
can
something
immediately
ominous is a killer solo. I know. I remember that
like
one.
that.
Yeah,
I
it's good
write
stuff.
solos very slow, Roy, but I'm not. I write them in tiny sections.
Mm-hmm.
I write the first part. I write the second part, third part, fourth part. It's not. I don't sit down like Guthrie Govan and just fucking go and play. I'm not a great lead player, so I have to do it in parts.
Mm-hmm.
So I do it more like a. I don't know. I do it more like a songwriter
Right.
uh, who's writing a melody rather than something super fast with super technique. And I
Yeah,
do a
I get it.
I do a lot of bending, using one note to I don't know to add expression with the one note, and maybe a wah, and maybe some effects. But I can't shred. I can't do any of that. So,
I don't know, man. It sounds great. Don't even worry about it. It
well,
sounds
that's that.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
that's
God.
it.
But
The end
it's
result
not a.
is
Well, that's
it's
the
all
thing. If
good.
the end result works, it works,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I don't care. Like I just love to listen. I can just listen to Dave Gilmour bending one string
Right.
for 2 hours. I don't need to see him shred because
Right.
I'm just not into shredding. Uh, if it's real technical shredding, I want shredding with soul that stops. That. But the thing about it is, Flow can shred like hell. So it's yeah, it's a good mix between the 2 of us. But yeah, I
Oh,
don't I don't like playing solos in front of him. I'm a bit embarrassed. So
I wanted to ask you real quick before I let you go here. Just the title, something ominous, is so
yeah,
it's so that right away catches your attention too, and
Yeah.
it's a weird, really cool thing to be singing. It's not something you hear sung often. I don't know. I can't recall Ominous being in a chorus
I
ever.
can't see it anywhere, and I checked.
Right.
I
So did the title come first? Did you pull it from the song? Where did that come from?
I was watching um Metallica, the documentary, Some
Mm,
Kind of Monster.
right.
There's some kind of monster. I was like, oh, that sounds like something ominous, you know? And that's really where I got the first idea for the some thing. And I
Right.
remember also a friend of mine wrote a review for our first album, which had an orb on the front cover. And it said there's this ominous orb floating over this man. Oh no, the subject is being pulled towards this ominous orb. And I went, ominous. I love the word ominous.
Yeah.
And ominous, it's a total mystery. We don't know what's going on. And I just loved it. And so I said it's something ominous, some kind of mystery, something unexplainable. We don't know what it is. So that gave me a lot of scope to write about whatever I wanted, really. And essentially, the song "Something Ominous" became uh, essentially the narrative for a fake alien invasion,
Right.
set up by the deep state, and to take control of the population and to take control of the media. Well, which they already own the media, but yeah, and something ominous was this dark orb coming from the skies, and the people looking up at this. There's a dark orb rising is the first. You see the dark orb rising.
Oh,
It's something
okay.
ominous.
Yeah.
It's something ominous. So
Got it.
the dark orb is that this fake alien, probably a hologram of some sort. Um, so yeah, and so as I say, it gives you scope. So I started to think more ideas for something ominous.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's a great hook right there too.
I'm really happy with that title. It's the first title that I like. Oh, actually, I like the Mutiny as well. It's not too bad. But yeah, something ominous. So that's where it came from. A mix of fake alien invasions and stealing from Metallica.
Right on. So
You know,
that said, something ominous. The album is out on September 15th. You guys are going to be on tour very soon this month with
yeah,
Soen in Europe.
went
And
in Denmark. The first tour, first date is Denmark. Can't remember the city, but
well, it's on your website, on your socials,
it's on the
Facebook,
website.
Instagram, all that stuff. Check it
Yeah.
out. Molybaron. Great to talk to you, Gary. Big fan.
All
Love
right,
the
thanks
record.
very
I
much
keep telling everybody about it. So over here, they're hearing about it from me. Don't worry.
Good man. Listen, thanks very much, and thanks for taking the time to chat.
Absolutely, man. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
See you later, dude.
Bye, man.
Bye.
All right. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on all our socials and on progreport.com for all your news, interviews, reviews, and more. And we'll see you again real soon.